So where do you go today if you're an American? And it's absolutely shameful that Americans have to actually think about leaving America, because America has always been actually the last best place where freedom reigns, where freedom and individual liberty and the other characteristics of Western civilization were part of the culture. So, of course, if you had any sense, you'd prefer to go to America of any other country. Mm-hmm. But that's changing, which is all the more reason, incidentally, which is something I've said for many years, get yourself a second citizenship or a third, and at least get residence in different countries so that you can go there. But so where do you go? Well, if you're in the U.S. and you don't have a lot in the way of assets, you should move to a small town in a so-called red state. Wyoming, South Dakota, places like that, okay? But if you're in a position financially, and you should be, shame on you if you're not, to have a crib outside the country, what country to go to? Well, the first and most obvious one is Canada. But how stupid are the Canadians that they elected, the young Trudeau? I mean, talk about a cuck. I mean, he's, but hey, Canadians elected him. And probably the freest province in Canada was Alberta. But Alberta's put in all kinds of new taxes and has a left-wing government. So, you can't rely on the intelligence of your fellow Canada's going the wrong direction. Best hope I have for Canada is it breaks up. Okay, Canada, okay, at least it's a different country, okay? Gives you some flexibility. It's easy. You can become a Canadian citizen in 3 years, I think, and they make it pretty easy. Okay, well, another thing, Mexico. Mexico is actually quite interesting. It's a big country. It's actually peaceful, and it's cheap, and it's mellow most places. Forget about the fact that, 20 or 30,000 people are murdered every year. But, stay away from the drug guys.
Well, and there's certain towns where it's more prevalent. You have to be more careful. But the other thing about Mexico that's interesting is that they never, most countries close their borders to American citizens, but Mexico never did through this so far.
Yeah, so I think Mexico is underrated, quite frankly. It's something worth thinking about. And then going down the map, we have Central America. All these countries in Mexico, Central America, the land of the Frito Bandito. I'm pretty familiar with Central America. I've been to every country there a number of times. Guatemala, no. Honduras, no. But those offshore islands are a different story. So you can't even generalize about Honduras. Mm-hmm. Costa Rica, lots of gringos there. It's expensive. It's not what it used to be. I don't know. My choice would be Panama in Central America, hands down. Panama City is very sophisticated, high standard of living. You got beaches on the Atlantic and the Pacific. You got mountains, if that's what you like. English is widely spoken. It's got a good economic future because of that canal and other things. So put Panama on the list.
Panama did have incredibly strict COVID lockdown restrictions. Extremely strict. Yeah. Where they were only letting, you could only go out of the house 2 days per week, I think. And it was based upon, alphabetical order. You could not go out of the house with another member of your household at the same time. So you couldn't go out with your wife, to go grocery shopping. I mean, it was very strange. Some of our mutual friends were there and expected to ride this all out there. And they got a private plane and got out.
Yeah. Well, look, talk about a disease that's going viral. It's stupidity. Like Einstein said, it's after hydrogen. It's the most common thing in the universe. So anyway, forgetting about that, I think Panama is okay. Of course, it's a country that the U.S. feels free to invade at any time, as they proved with Noriega.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, then south of Panama. And of course, the U.S. is responsible for the creation of Panama. They stole it from Colombia. I don't know. It seems like the guerrillas are getting fired up again in Colombia. But I think Colombia, a lot of people love Medellin. So Colombia is interesting. Venezuela, not interesting. Used to be the richest country in South America. Now I don't know when it'll get better, but because it has oil, it's probably always going to be a problem because that oil that's like a one-stop shopping if you want to steal stuff, which is what the politicians all do. So forget about that. The Guyanas, they're a different world. I've been to all of them a number of times. Probably not so weird, but interesting. Brazil. I think Brazil would be my number one choice. I mean, look, we were talking about Chile the other day. Mm-hmm. I mean, highest standard of living, best economy, best technology, all because of Pinochet, who's treated as a master criminal, which is a separate discussion that we can have about that. But now, hey, it was too good. We can't have nice. This is why we can't have nice stuff, is what the Chileans
exactly.
So we're going to destroy it all and reelect a communist. So I don't know about Chile.
Yeah, I really thought Chile would be the one. I really did years ago. I thought because they had the largest percentage of the population was middle class. It was really developed. I thought just be middle class means stability, I thought. But boy, I've been proven wrong about that. What's happened there in the last year. Beautiful
California South and not a big population. I mean, 10 or 12 million people. Oh, well, it's all cyclical.
But Brazil, though, you were saying, so what is it? So Brazil is also another place that did not close their borders to American citizens during this whole time period.
Yeah, Brazil is quite interesting. Southern Brazil, like, south of Sao Paulo. There, it's, people don't understand that Brazil has actually got serious racial problems. It's different than it is other places, but still it exists. But southern Brazil is very European. Those problems aren't as serious. You go to northern Brazil, and they're all black people. No problems with that, except it's a different environment. It's a different culture. Make your choices. But and you can become a Brazilian citizen fairly easily. Mm-hmm. Have a kid in Brazil. You're Brazilian yourself in a year.
Yeah, they have the same anchor baby program we have in the U.S.
Exactly, except you can become a citizen in a year, not 5 years for the U.S. So put Brazil on your list. I'd forget about Bolivia, Ecuador, and Peru. Why? Because they're all Indian country, and the Indians were conquered by the Spanish, and still 500 years later, for good reasons, they're pissed off about it, and they want to retake it. But they're all following the Morales, that moron that ran Bolivia. Same with the other countries. Those three countries are problematical. There's not much that's attractive in Peru, frankly. I mean, you've got the jungle and the mountains. The weather generally sucks. I see Lima as a horrible city. So I don't know, I'd forget about Peru, and the same with Ecuador and absolutely Bolivia. Argentina and Uruguay, similar but very different. Argentina's, run by a criminally insane couple at this point. They're totally bankrupt again. I'm not sure what they're going to do. Probably something stupid. They always do. Too bad. I really like that country. Mm-hmm. Uruguay, very expensive, but it's only 3.5 million people. Socialist welfare state, but they leave you alone. Okay, so where are you going to go in South America? Answer the question. Brazil, and I'd say right now, Uruguay. But if you want to buy land or buy a house or buy anything in Argentina, it's like things are free. So if you want to look ahead and say, hey, something good will happen, now's the time to put money in Argentina because they'll give away stuff. So here's a crisis investing opportunity.
Yeah, if you can get in there, they won't let anyone right now. You can't even, it's hard to get in the country.
Yeah, that's right. It'll open up. Eventually. It has to. But if you can get in, when you can get in, beautiful place, look for real estate. It's like free. So, okay, those are your choices in South America. Next, Europe. I like Portugal because it's way out on the end. But the disadvantage with Portugal is maybe I have an engram about Portuguese. You think it's like Spanish. It doesn't sound like it at all. The language can be a problem. And will they be inundated by migrants from Mozambique and Angola who do speak the language and want to get to Europe? This is one of the big long-term problems with Europe, is that if I was a young African, the first thing I would do at any cost is get to Europe for every reason you can think of, And they will. And they're not going to be able to be stopped, and especially since all the Europeans are so, they're such limp social justice warrior socialists. So listen, I wish I could place a money bet that I'd be around to collect on, that 30 years from now, there's going to be 50 million Africans in Europe. We'll see. Sounds like an outrageous prediction, but it's going to happen. So I used to think that the Chinese were going to take over Europe and use it as a petting zoo. But actually, the Africans will. Actually, since China is taking over Africa, maybe we'll get both. But the Europeans are absolutely screwed. It's too bad. No, Europe is a sinking ship. Although in Europe, I like Portugal with the problems. I think Poland is actually one of the more interesting places in Europe. I like Poland. I mean, it's pleasant. They've kind of drawn the line on doing incredibly stupid things. And I kind of like the Baltics too. They're kind of isolated, low taxes, encouraging entrepreneurialism. So I'd say if you want to go to Europe, look at Poland and the Baltics.
Yeah, I think you're right. I agree with that.
So anyway, going on from Europe, Africa, look, I've often said, if I was 30 and wanted to make a fortune, I'd get on a plane to Africa. And if you want to start on the shallow end of the pool, which you probably should, I'd probably start with Namibia and then Botswana. The deep end of the pool is Central Africa and West Africa, like Nigeria. But it's too problematical. It really is. So I don't think it's on the shopping list for most people that are looking for, not really. So forget Africa. Australia and New Zealand, New Zealand, how stupid are they? They, after Roger Douglas reformed the country, when anybody that could afford airfare to Sydney, London, or Los Angeles was getting the hell out of there in the 1980s, Roger Douglas reformed it. It was like in Chile, but no people got killed. Now, of course, they've elected and re-elected a communist woman who's, I think, clinically insane. She's like New Zealand's answer to Kamala Harris. So forget New Zealand, which was looking like a refuge for billionaires for a while, and forget Australia. It's a continent, but still, the tall poppy syndrome in both of those countries, not what they used to be. But then, you can go China. Well, unless you're of Chinese ethnic extraction, you can forget about China. I mean, you're not gonna fit in. I mean, we can live around the edges. Thailand is much better that way. Yep. I like Thailand a lot, but still, you're never going to be a Thai. You can forget about it. You can marry a Thai. You can learn to speak. You're never going to be a Thai. Forget about it. So you can forget about the whole Orient from that point of view. But a great place to live. I love the Orient. So we've covered all the bases, haven't we? Except for the Caribbean. You can get a sailboat and sail around. It's not a bad idea.